I learned a set of Zappa's music recently for a session with some friends, and in the process of learning the songs, a few things stuck out to me when I saw other bassists playing their own versions of Cheepnis, a song which first appeared on the Roxy and Elsewhere album. So in this video, I am going to try and address some details I think are important to the song, which I have seen more than one bassist neglect. This video will not be a music theory or analysis video. It will focus on the mechanics of reproducing the song on electric bass. However, it is also not a hand-holding video. I will include some score examples to elucidate some points, but it won't be a note-by-note walkthrough of the tune, for the most part. Cheepnis is a pretty easy song by Zappa's standards, and you might get excited by this and rush to finish learning it quickly so you can get it in the bag and move on to the next tune, but don't overlook the finer details. So the first detail, which is very important, the song is played with a plectrum. Tom Fowler had to cut through 2 drum sets, assorted percussion, electric piano and synth, a trombone, and a heavily distorted guitar. The plectrum helps with this by lending a percussive transient to his articulation, and the higher frequencies of the plastic striking the steel strings helps him to slice through the heavy textures a little more. You notice this in similarly densely arranged tunes from the era like Big Swifty and Ridinzel. To this end, he also plays sul ponticello, in other words, he picks near the bridge. But what if you don't play the tune with such a large band? Is the plectrum unnecessary? It'll sound perfectly fine fingerstyle, but even if you're playing with a smaller band, the plectrum could just give it a bit more energy. Use your own discretion, but do note that it was originally played with a plectrum. Now let's quickly look at this recurring motif, a hook of sorts. Easy to catch by ear, but watch out for that second phrase. That D is approached from the C a whole step below. This isn't so clear in the original recording, and some people do get it wrong. Those walking parts wedged between the duple bars and the 7/8 bars sound better with ghost notes. This also goes for the simpler response phrases from those adjacent 7/8 and 4/4 bars. For the walking parts, I like to mute the adjacent string and hit that as a grace note, like so. For the response phrases, you can simply change the intensity of your picking, so you're emphasizing the notes that are supposed to be accented, but you're not losing momentum in between them. Remember this for the next bit, but first listen to the difference. Here the figure is without the ghost notes. And here's the figure with the ghost notes. That recurrent 1-5-4 thing often gets played like this. But doesn't that sound a bit flat? Remember what we said a moment ago about changing the intensity of your picking without even necessarily completely muting the string when articulating the ghost notes. If we do it like that, it sounds like this. Tom Fowler definitely played it like this on the original recording, as we can see here. Additionally, don't be deceived by that repeating figure. It might lead you to believe that there should be a rest on the upbeat of the 3rd quarter note of the phrase for the rest of the verse, but that's not true of the rest of the verse. It's played like this. Look out for the drum fill between verses. You do not simply hold down the root, There's a little bit of interplay between the bass and the drums, like this. Don't miss it. It won't sound disastrous if you miss it out, but it's just a detail that makes things sound a little bit tighter. Look out for the change to the main motif leading into the "bullets can't stop it" section. It's very similar, but the final phrase is slightly modified. The bass part is not exactly the same as the melody, but this is what Tom Fowler played. For the E-flat groove on the released recording, there is clearly a fixed part, but not all versions have this. I don't always stick exactly to the part. I allude to it, but vary it, and then after the cue into the unison "got a great big poodle thing" line, I stick a little more closely to the motif as it is played in the recording. Don't forget, exiting this section, the E-flat pedal repeats once, and then joins in the unison line between the timpani and vocals. If you want to stick a little more closely to the Roxy and Elsewhere recording, this is the line as it appears on that. This Western cliché of an Oriental motif is played in a specific way. It's based on a major pentatonic scale, but it throws in a few chromaticisms to make it sound a bit dissonant and ridiculous. It isn't played randomly though, it is the same across versions, so pay attention to this line. The Horrible Eye section is easy and doesn't require an explanation, but if you're playing a 5-string bass, here's an idea. When you hit that final C, hit the low C on the B string. Sounds nice. The motif straight after is also easy, but here's another idea. I like to put a little trill on it. It wasn't played this way originally, but I like it this way. A minor detail that makes a noticeable difference. When you return to the original verse structure, notice that there is a little variation. Fowler drops in a couple of extra eighth notes. Just makes the phrase a little bit less repetitive and a bit more interesting. This one is important. You do not play the following motif until the end, like I've seen numerous people do. After the first "cheaper the better," Fowler picks things up and plays this 16th note figure. This injects a lot more energy into the ending of the song, and most importantly, it's fun to play, so don't deprive yourself of that joy. One final detail: when "cheaper the better" repeats 4 times, the bass does not play in unison with it like it does on previous iterations. Instead, you just play a stab on your open A string at the start of each repetition of the phrase. Did you miss any of those details yourself? If you did, I bet you feel a bit stupid now. Hope that was helpful. If you think I've missed out any pertinent details, let me know in the comments. I am still working on an analysis video of dog breath variations, which I promised some time ago. I've been working on it on and off in between other various projects, which is why it's taken such a long time. I do have plans to do more Zappa analyses after that, but in the meantime, there is plenty of material to tide you over until then, thanks to my friend Tyler Bartram, who does excellent work and who has actually been active lately. And if you like the stuff we've been talking about here, you'll love my composition. Milk won't be going to the Tokyo Olympics, which you can buy on my Bandcamp, linked in the description. Joe Albano, the madman, is back getting his sax everywhere again, and you can hear Takayabaki, the Koenji Hyakei adjacent piano extraordinaire, brush his fingers nimbly over the ivories like some sort of possessed feather duster, and the manic energy of the esteemed barista Dan Pugac on the drum set very strongly indicates he's been getting high on his own supply of Arabica. These immense virtuosic forces come together with myself to create a torrential deluge of unfathomable delight which will titillate your senses in ways you never knew possible. To fail to click that link would be utter masochism, and I will think less of you for it. Click through, stream the tune, and buy the tune at a high price. I implore you.